Welcome to another week of Entrepreneurial Studies. So far this term, we have been focusing on the different forces on businesses. We looked at force one being technology, and then force two was globalization. And this week, we want to look at some modern business practices. When we refer to modern business practices, we're referring to some new strategies that have only really evolved in the past 10 years or so. We're going to look at three in particular. The first one we're going to look at is how businesses have been changing their human resource strategies to target millennials. And we're going to use Google as a case study for that. The second modern business practice we're going to look at is the sharing economy, with the most popular business utilizing this being Uber. And the third new modern business practice, which is really new, is social enterprises. Businesses who run not necessarily for a profit, but to make money to give to charities. And we're going to be using thankyou.co as our case study. So on to our first modern business force, being millennials and HR strategies. Some of you might be thinking, well, what is a millennial? Millennials are people that are born between 1977 and the year 2000, sometimes referred to as Generation Y. Now, all of you would have been born past the year 2000, and you're commonly known as Generation I, the generation that's always been born with the internet in existence. However, you do share many of the same traits as millennials. And so we believe that when you enter the workforce, you'll have the same needs and wants. Let's have a look at some of the ways that millennials interact with businesses first, before we look at the HR strategies. It's shown that almost 50% of millennials would be more willing to make a purchase from a company if their purchase supports a cause. Millennials really love brands when they stand for more than their bottom line. And bottom line refers to a finance term. It means profits. So young people prefer brands who do more than just want to make a profit. Brands who stand for more, want to make the world a better place. Millennials also have over 200 plus Facebook friends. 46% of millennials reported that. Millennials are known as content creators and users. 46% of them have posted their own original videos and photos online. Millennials want brands to entertain them. 80% of them said that. 40% want to participate in creating the products that they purchase, and 70% feel a responsibility to share feedback with companies after a good or bad experience. Are you resonating with any of these statistics so far? Do you feel that you might be sharing some of the similar traits of a millennial? 69% of millennials said they crave adventure. They want to travel and they want to do new and different things. So now that we know what a millennial is, what are some of the pressures being placed on human resources? When we're looking at human resources, we're thinking about the ways that companies put strategies in place to recruit new employees and to keep them there at work. The pictures you're seeing now are from offices around the world. They're pretty interesting. They look pretty fun. On the right here, you can see sleep pods. All these strategies are being put in place because they're designed to motivate and engage millennials when they're at the workforce, trying to make them feel happy and wanting to work really, really well. That's what this first modern business practice is all about. How do you increase retention rates? Millennials don't stay in the same job for their entire life. Their parents or grandparents did, not young people these days. They like adventure and they like feeling connected. So as a business, what strategies do you put in place to get young people to stay at your workplace and to continue working hard? Is it about more money, or is it about more perks? For instance, we know that Google offers free lunch every single day. They do your washing for you. You can even order a massage when you're at work. Google also offers this very interesting strategy called 20% time, where their employees are allowed 20% of their time, which is one entire workday from Monday to Friday, where they can just work on any project of their interest. When you'll be looking at millennials and HR, you'll be asked to think about what strategies could you recommend if you're a business owner to encourage millennials to stay at your workforce and to be motivated and engaged. You'll be spending some time looking at the Google case study if you choose to work on this option. Another modern business practice that we'll be looking at is the sharing economy. The sharing economy was originally grown out of the open source economy, also known as the peer-to-peer based sharing of access to goods and services. In other words, it was sharing goods and services for free, i.e., borrowing. However, this has now been monetized where it's not for free, but businesses charge a fee to borrow the goods or services. Another term for it is the Uberization, which is an alternative name. And this is because Uber is the most popular example of the sharing economy. So, what does it actually mean? Well, the sharing economy means sharing any things that you have at home to other people for a small fee. This picture here on the right was released by The Economist, showing how a typical family can participate in the sharing economy by renting out many of the products that they have. You can see here that you can pay $5 a day to go walk a dog. So if you don't have your own pet, you can pay to borrow someone else's pet for the day. Pay $300 for a speedboat. If you own a house and you have an attic or a loft, you can rent it out per year for $300. The sharing economy is becoming so popular that the global average of online purchases is over 68% of people who are willing to share something that they own, or 66% of people who are willing to share from others. So we can see that it's becoming a very strong and growing economy. So the question becomes, what do businesses do? Do they just stand by and allow their sharing economy to take over, or do they participate in it? We can see that in China, they've got their own version of Airbnb, and they've secured $25 million in funding to roll out their new business program. If we look down here, I'll just get my pointer on for you. So if we look down here, in the last 3 years, the amount of money that's been raised on crowdfunding has tripled from 1.5 billion in 2011 to 5.1 billion in 2013. We can see the impact of Uber being in Chicago. It's raised $46 million in 1 year just by operating there, including 1,000 new jobs. Airbnb, who participates in the sharing economy, has had a tenfold growth from 2011 to 2014. And we can see some typical businesses down here getting involved into the sharing economy as well. Ford and BMW have started to launch their own car sharing programs, Ford to Go and Drive Now. So we know that global economy is strong and that it's going to be around here in the future. So the questions that we now pose is, millennials are willing to participate in the sharing economy, and you're going to become millennials in the future. We know that, the question is, how important is trust when it comes to the sharing economy? And finally, how can businesses benefit from the sharing economy? So if you choose this option, you'll be looking at the sharing economy and then what you could suggest to a business to benefit from the sharing economy. The third modern business practice is social enterprises. A social enterprise is a business where they put profits for society first. So as it says here, where a social enterprise, business is where societies profit. Over here, we can see the growth of businesses. On the far left, we have businesses who are solely existing to make a profit. And then we have businesses who have a corporate social conscience. They realize that it's important to make money, but we should also give back. On the far right, we have the opposite. We don't have a business, we have a charity. They run just to do good, raise money and give it to poor people. In the middle here is what we're seeing, social enterprises, where they're not just making money for profit and then giving a little bit back. They're not just raising funds, but they're actually running a business model where their entire goal is to make a profit, but not for themselves, but to donate to charitable works. The most popular example that you've probably seen in the supermarkets is thankyou.co. Are they a charity or are they a business? This is the case study we're going to be looking at if you do social enterprises. You'll be looking at how they started and looking at how much they actually donate to charitable works. Two other social enterprise trends is the Oxfam shop and fair trade products, which you'll also be looking at. So these three modern business practices are all leading to one thing. It's the pitch, and this is what we're about in Entrepreneurial Studies. So towards the end of this week, you'll be putting together a pitch focusing on these modern business practices. And this is because we know a big business within the future is one that moves fast and isn't afraid to step out from the ordinary mold. And we're going to get practice at this, practice at stepping out of the ordinary mold by becoming business consultants ourselves. So you'll need to be presenting ideas for how current businesses can step out of the ordinary mold and use some of these new modern practices, such as new HR strategies to engage millennials, how they can use social enterprises as a way to change their business, or how they can be part of the sharing economy. You'll be asked to work in groups of 3, similar to when we did our Force 1 technology, and to put together a presentation for any business you want to work on. You can choose the same business that you worked on in week 1. And you've been asked to assist them in implementing some modern business practices to a success. So this is what you need to focus on. Who's going to be in your group? Do you want to work with the same people when we did Force 1, or do you want some new people? What modern business practices will you be suggesting? And it can be more than one. And then what business you'll be advising. As always, it's not necessary to have a Google slide to support your presentation. As we can see here in Dragon's Den, just standing up by yourself using persuasive techniques like hand gestures and dramatic pauses is just as effective. So enjoy this week and make sure you ask your teacher for any questions.